Good evening. That was absolutely pitiful. Good evening. Welcome, Governor Moore and all of your team. Welcome to this very, very special, in their own words, presentation. The video that you're about to see is just a snippet of what really happened during the amazing day of service that was held in partnership with the governor's administration on MLK Day on January 16th. So can we show the video? This is the day of service, and what United Way does best is mobilize thousands of people in greater Baltimore and throughout the state to really help others to deal with the issues that confront our communities.
We're all living in a society right now where uncertainty lines everything that we are. The way we are going to make it through this is by service. The way we are going to make it through all of this is by making sure that we're all pushing together. But I know that if we are divided, we can't win. But if we're united, we can't lose. Those who serve together stay together.
And so, Governor, it was an incredible, powerful way to honor the legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King and to really kick off the historically inclusive transition in our state's leadership. And so together, we're proud of this. We were able to mobilize more than 1,000 volunteers, 25 sites across Maryland, including 7,000 students, to help our neighbors in the neighborhoods they call home. And so this day was in many ways a testament to the power, the potential, and yes, the promise of serving others, a commitment that we live and breathe every single day, and that we share with Governor Moore, who has led a life of devoted public service and who will leverage the power of service to strengthen our state one day, 1 week, 1 month at a time. United Way strengthens lives and communities across greater Baltimore by advancing equity, access, and opportunity. And so our vision is simple. Our vision is a just and equitable region for all, where everyone, regardless of their zip code, regardless of their race or ethnicity, regardless of their income level, everyone has an opportunity to achieve and succeed. And when I look at this place we're in tonight, a place devoted to the history and the culture of Black Americans, I'm reminded of the vital importance of equity and the women and men who fearlessly drove the change that we must sustain as well as propel today. So I want to ask you to do something wherever you are, standing or sitting. Those sitting, can you please stand? Those standing, remain standing. I want you to do something for me. How special is this place and the people it honors? I want you to repeat after me. Can you do that? Repeat after me. I love it, Governor. There's no place like this place, with history all throughout this place. So isn't this an awesome place? Thank you so much to the leadership of this wonderful facility, this wonderful space. Thank you for creating a wonderful place for us to gather and really celebrate this place. Do you want to do that one more time? There's no place like this place, with history all throughout the place. So isn't this a special place? You may be seated. Those standing, continue to stand. And so, thank you. Our wonderful leader, Executive Director Terry Freeman, could not be here today, but she sends her regards, running such a fine institution. And we encourage all of you, if this is your first time, make it not your last, right? So, like the historic figures represented throughout this building, and like our governor, United Way fights to leave no one behind in our quest to lift up those who are struggling. So United Way's work to help others begins by listening. What word did I use? You all are listening. Listening to what they want and need, not what we think they need. As our governor knows from the three-year listening tour that he took prior to his election, listening is the key to real change. So from our 1,000 Voices initiative a few years back, where we met with folks in 43 different communities across Greater Baltimore, to our daily interactions with those we serve through more than 30 programs, we know that listening, working with others, and amplifying their strengths translates into meaningful change. And we listen to our partners, local partners, other nonprofits and community groups, the corporate community, and donors and advocates inside our communities, because without them, we couldn't do this important work. Service to our community unites us and makes us all stronger. And as you said, Governor, if we're divided, we can't win. But if we're united, we can't lose. Nearly 100 years, we've united with others to increase access to housing, employment, education, and health from our neighborhood zones in Poppleton, Brooklyn, and Columbia that provide a host of free services and resources to residents, to our new, so excited about it, our new Young Men United initiative that will break down education and earning barriers for our young men of color right here in Baltimore, to our work to help hardworking people to do more than just survive. We're changing lives every single day. And every day we witness how the support we offer helps people by meeting them where they are and helping them to capitalize on their own innate strengths and abilities to change their lives. I want you to meet someone who's done just that. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce Jonathan Burton, leasing manager for Seawall Development, whom we met in 2012 when he was a sophomore at Benjamin Franklin High School, which is home base for our South Baltimore neighborhood zone. So Jonathan, take it away, sir.
Good evening. How's everybody doing tonight? All right, well, as you mentioned, my name is John Burton, and I did first come into contact with United Way in 2012 when I transferred to Benjamin Franklin High School. Now, a quick overview for myself. I had a story like you've probably heard before. Absent parents. I was raised by my grandmother, and we struggled pretty hard. I heard it mentioned before, we were in survival mode for sure. And so my issue was that how does one focus on academics, focus on your school when you are in fact in survival mode? Well, you can't. Not sufficiently anyway. So I was at the point where, just go to school until you're legally able to drop out. That was what everyone in my family had done. In fact, outside of myself, no one outside of my grandmother had a high school diploma, which may not sound too crazy, but I have a lot of uncles, I have a lot of older brothers, a lot of older siblings, and no one else had gotten to the point where they can get a high school diploma, because in my family, the cycle was, you go to school until you can drop out and then you get a job, because in survival mode, you need that money instantly. And I think we all know that schooling is more so long game, but unfortunately, there are people out here who do not have the option for the long game, and I was one of those people. So of course, I hook up with United Way. Now at the time, I'm just thinking it's, a counselor at my school, somebody all up in my business, but I didn't really quite get how impactful that would be later on in life. And so I'm the type of person, I didn't have a ton of positive role models in my family, so I would always look out to find positive role models, and I found them in every different aspect of different things that I've done. And so United Way specifically, of course there were a lot of people involved in United Way, but one person I've always kept in contact with is Miss Heather Chapman. And I saw her as someone that, was like an inspiration to me, someone that I can certainly look up to and kind of get a sense of how this thing can be done right. But there was a lot of intervention with the United Way. We were living in a motel at the time that I would first come into contact with United Way. Prior to that, kind of like couch hopping, as they put it. And, United Way found out about that, and so they were able to send out gift baskets, send out food baskets and stuff like that. One time I remember specifically was for Christmas. They sent out a Christmas basket, which probably doesn't seem too crazy, but we're living in a motel at the point, so it's all about the struggle and survive. So you forget the small things to celebrate, like Christmas. And so that, of course, I'm not going to drone on with that, and a lot of other things that happened between me and United Way eventually got me to the point of just having a better, more positive mindset, because I was at the point of giving up. You can't really have a ton of hope when that's the family you were born into, and you don't see any change, you don't see any opportunity for change. So United Way showed me that, look, there's still value in you, and they got me to see that, which I didn't think would be the case. But since then, fast forward just a bit, I graduated from high school, which was not going to happen at first. I graduated from high school, and then through counselors at Benjamin Franklin, I was hooked up with the Bridge EDU program, which our governor had started at the time, because he also understood the power of intervention and having to take down barriers that should not be there in the first place. And I can say honestly, I would not have made it out of that first year if not for the Bridge EDU program. So I love you for that, Wes. Fast forward just a little bit more. So from what I actually started working for Wes in the Bridge EDU program for a little bit, and then he packed me into Seawall, which has been my work family, and I just call it my real family ever since 2016 up until now. They took me in with, they're over there, get them up, hands up. They took me in with open arms, and I had developed some skills because, of course, I went to college. But I'm happy to report that as of December 2022, I graduated from Coppin State University with a bachelor's degree. So, really, if there's any question as to the impact of a program like United Way, as to the impact of programs similar to Bridge EDU, there shouldn't be, because I'm living proof that when you step into someone's life and show that they have value and instill that back into them and they can see it in themselves, that will take them far. And it's taken me far so far. Like, I'm a leasing agent now. I've been with the company for a while. I'm probably going to be a real estate developer in the next 5 or so years. So I'm just very thankful for all the opportunities that I've been able to have, and I would hope that a program like United Way and similar programs to Bridge EDU will continue to help young people like myself thrive. I think that's all I got for you guys.
So, Governor, one thing I've learned from Jonathan is there's power in positive affirmation. Call those things that be not as though they were. You will be what you just proclaimed. Just stay focused. Folks, what you just heard is only one example, right, of the strength, the power, and yes, the promise that we tap into to help people to really see there is another path. There is a brighter future in store, and they can do it. He's living as a testament to that. So I just want to stop for a moment and thank everyone here. And there are many of you standing and sitting, many of you who have been long-standing supporters of United Way. You've involved yourselves in so many activities. You've involved yourself in tours, helping people like Jonathan, right? Come alongside. So thank you. Can you guys give it up for all of those who are just great supporters of United Way, making our work possible? And we like to say, there's several of you who understand investing really, really well. And we just like to say that the work you do is truly making an investment in our future, an investment in Greater Baltimore, right? And so we're so appreciative of your longstanding trust and support. So thank all of you. And so now I have the pleasure of introducing our good friend Paul Taberzi, Senior Counsel at DLA Piper, the title sponsor of our In the Realm series for more than 10 years. So Mr. Paul, take it away, sir.
Thank you. Wow. All of us at DLA Piper are honored to be here. Jay Smith is here somewhere, Brett Ingerman, my former partner Kathleen Brain, great insurance commissioner, particularly in this beautiful, beautiful place. It's perfect for us, so we're honored to be here. So I get to introduce probably the one man in the state of Maryland who needs no introduction. But Governor, I'm an Italian lawyer, I'm going to do it anyway, okay? Really, I met Wes many years ago. Many of you did too, and I worked with him. I read his books. I knew he was an extraordinary person. But I do want to say he's been governor for 2 months and a few days, and if it's possible, he's exceeded our expectations. Talk about hit the ground running, right? Yes. He's meeting with everybody. He's meeting with every caucus in the General Assembly. He's about to pass a very ambitious, progressive agenda. He's hitting baseballs with the Orioles. He's going to extend the lease. He's going to bring the FBI to Maryland, right, Governor? Right? Virginia. Anyway, he's everywhere. He's got a dog named Balti. It's beautiful. But two other things. One, when you look at the cabinet, and I asked the governor about this during the transition. It was my honor to be a supporter. When you look at the cabinet, Tisha's done a terrific job. Look at the great people in Governor Moore's cabinet, top notch, the best and the brightest, people like Craig Thompson running the Stadium Authority, just tremendous, Governor, Helene Grady, and you can see that. The other thing, and this is probably the most important thing, when we see the governor on Face the Nation or we see him on TV, we can be very proud that this is our governor. And I will give a shout out to the First Lady. We can be very proud of Dawn Moore, wonderful First Lady. When we see them anywhere, right? You make us proud, Governor. So with that, please welcome, ladies and gentlemen, my governor, your governor, Maryland's governor, Wes Moore.
Thank y'all so much. Good afternoon. And first, I have to tell y'all, it is so good being home. It is so good being back. And listen, I really like Annapolis. It's a fun place to live. And I love every part of this state. And I say that from the depths of my heart and the depths of my soul. We have an amazing place to call home. We really do. And I love all 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. Let me say that again to the camera. I love all 24 jurisdictions in the state of Maryland. But it is good being home. It is good being in one of my favorite places in my favorite city on this planet. It is good being in a place where I have a chance to walk around the halls of this building and know and reflect on the strength that we come from, but also know how promising our future is. I'm thankful for the fact that I get a chance to be here in a room full of friends, room full of people who I admire and respect. And Paul, let me just say also, thank you not just for the beautiful introduction. Thank you for the wonderful support that you gave all throughout this transition, the campaign, the administration. Thank you for being my friend. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, and for the leadership you've always continued to show. Bless you and thank you so much, and thank you for the support of this event. I'm thankful for the fact that we get to be at an organization that is led by one of the best leaders in this entire state, Franklin. What you continue to do for this organization is spectacular. This organization is remarkable, and so is its leader. Bless you and congratulations. Thank you. And I'm thankful for the chance to be here amongst my tribe. And I say my tribe because, I look around this room, and what this room really epitomizes to me is not just people, again, who are friends and people I deeply admire, but people who understand that public service does not have to come with an occupation or with a title. You know, because the truth is, I know people with really big titles who are doing absolutely nothing. And I know people with no title at all who every day are changing the world. That the power to impact the world does not come oftentimes with a job description, but it just comes with a passion point, with an understanding that we've got parts and aspects of our world that need changing, and we are not going to sit around and wait for someone else to change it. You all, this group, people who understand that every single day, this world will continue to evolve, this world will continue to change, the world will keep on spinning, but you are going to make sure that your fingerprints are on it. And you're going to make sure that people understand and remember that this is a city and this is a state that is worth fighting for. And you cannot have a thriving Maryland if you do not have a thriving Baltimore. And you know, and I tell people whenever I say it, and listen, and for some of y'all who have seen us cross state, I say that everywhere. People are like, oh, you say you're in Baltimore? No. I say that everywhere. And people are like, yeah, of course you'd say that. You're a homer. Of course you talk about the importance of Baltimore. You're from Baltimore. I say, no, I don't celebrate Baltimore and I don't lift up Baltimore, and we're not going to invest in Baltimore because I'm a homer. I do it because I'm good at math. Tell me a single state in this country that is thriving and clicking on all cylinders, but the state's largest city is not. I'll wait. It doesn't exist. And I've done the research. In order for our state to do what our state needs to do, it means we need for the state's largest city to live up to its greatness too. And the only way that it's going to live up to its greatness is if every single person who calls this city home knows that the future belongs to them too. And the way we do that is exactly what you were talking about, Franklin, is that we have to focus on making sure that this is the state that serves. That this is the place that everybody understands that they've got a job to do. That everyone understands that no matter what your occupation is, your true job and your work is you're a public servant. And that becomes part of our collective and part of our joint responsibilities. And it's our time that the entire state takes that and understands that seriously. And before I continue, let me just talk about this brother Jonathan real quick. So it is true, before I became governor, before I worked at Robin Hood, I ran an enterprise here in the city of Baltimore called Bridge EDU, where we were focused on helping first-generation students make it not just to, but also through higher education, helping them to understand that there is a reason that over half of people who are the first in their family to start higher education, they don't complete. And when I say that they don't complete, that doesn't mean they don't complete college. It means they don't complete the freshman year. The freshman year. Because unfortunately for people who might not have come from conditions or environments where they were hearing from their time they were in first grade about what college they were going to go to, or unfortunately for some people who, once they hit higher education, and even every hope and every goal and every aspiration is struck down when they start to see the tuition bill that comes along with it. Or for some people who finish up high school and unfortunately for the first time they walk onto a college campus, they're then taking coursework on the college campus and then realizing that that coursework that they have to take, that they're not prepared for that coursework, so they end up taking whole batteries of developmental coursework. By the way, developmental coursework costs the same as regular coursework, it just is not worth credit. So you have a student who will do a full years of academic work and will end up with 6 or 3 or 0 credits to their name. Or students who, just like many, they will start higher education, and life gets in the way. So we started this platform to be able to support students on this journey because we need to make sure that this can be a place and a space where their ambition and opportunity actually has a chance to meet each other. And it's the first time that I got a chance to meet this brother, Jonathan. And you know, when we first started having conversations, we were talking about what brought you here, what brought you on this journey. And when he was at Benjamin Franklin, he entered the 9th grade saying that his #1 goal was to drop out. And to hear that from someone like Jonathan, who is so brilliant, so hard-charging, and so kind, that the #1 goal was not to complete, it just served as real fuel and ammunition as to why the work that we were trying to do matters so much. And as hard as the team worked, no one worked harder than you. No one pushed harder. I want to be clear, Jonathan, that it is wonderful that you came up and thanked the United Way. It's wonderful that you came up and thanked Bridget U. It's wonderful that you came up and thanked the team here, and it is absolutely true. This team over at Seawall, see Tebow over there too, my guy, man, y'all are remarkable. And I'm so grateful for what you continue to do for Jonathan, his life, and so many other lives. But I want to also remind you, Jonathan, every room that you are in, you are there because you belong there, and you work to get there. That for each and every one of us, we are just proud to be supporting actors and actresses on your journey. Because you're the star, man. And we are all so proud of everything you continue to do and will continue to do. But I think about what that means because when we talk about the work of the United Way, you talk about the work of Seawall, you talk about the work of so many different organizations here, that might not have been part of your job description. That might not have been a part of your mission statement. That might not be part of your charter. But you did it. You did it because service to the individual matters. And you did it because we all have a collective responsibility to build up a collective path that all people, and particularly all of our young people, see and understand that this society has a place for them too. And knowing that the way that we are going to lift them up, the way that we are going to provide platforms for them, the way that we are going to make sure that we can build a society where it should not take luck in order to be successful. It should not take being cherry-picked in order to find a platform to success. That the fact that we have so many people and so many organizations here who are lifted up and built and supported and who are doing the work, but who are doing the work because there are still structural problems that allow people to fall between cracks. You know, before, I remember when I was running Robin Hood, which is one of the largest poverty fighting organizations in this country. An organization where we individually we raised and allocated over $600 million going towards organizations that focused on education and housing and food insecurity and transportation. And I remember I had a sign on my desk that sat on my desk, and it was a quote from Dr. King. And the quote said, "Philanthropy is commendable, but never forget the economic injustice that makes philanthropy necessary." Philanthropy is commendable, but never forget the economic injustice that makes philanthropy necessary. The reason that we supported organizations that focused on food insecurity, is because we had so many people who were food insecure. The reason that we focused on housing insecurity is because we had so many people who were housing insecure. We had people who continue to fall between cracks. And eventually we have individuals in our communities and individuals in our societies who are willing to step up and who are willing to understand that if we are not fixing these systems, we will repeatedly find ourselves cleaning up the debris that comes from broken systems, which is never going to be sufficient and which is never going to be enough. That when people talk about, the fish, and the old parable about the person who was on the beach picking up the fish and throwing the fish back in the water and picking up the fish and throwing it back in the water, and someone looks and says, there are thousands of fish here on this beach. How do you think you're making a difference by picking up the fish and throwing it back in the water? And the person reaches down and they pick up the fish and they throw it back in the water, and they said, well, it did to that one. And it's true. And it's a beautiful story. But at some point, we've got to ask the question, but why are there thousands of fish on this beach? At some point, we've got to address the fact that the reason that we have so many remarkable organizations in this city and the reason we have such remarkable organizations in this state is because there is breakage. And how do we address the breakage? How do we ensure that it should not take luck in order for a person to be successful? Because I know for a fact that I'm a product of that luck. I'm a product of the fact that I had individuals, I had organizations, I had people who were willing to give me a chance before I even knew that I needed one. I had people who were willing to hold up my dreams long enough to wait for my shoulders to become broad enough that now I no longer need their help to hold up my dreams because I can do it myself. But it wasn't always like that. I know because I saw it with my own eyes. I know because that my mother did not get her first job that gave her benefits until I was 14 years old. My mother did not get her first job that allowed her to work one job instead of multiple jobs. And by the way, let's be clear, this is a woman who went on to earn a master's degree. So when we're having conversations about inequitable pay between men and women or inequitable pay between people of color and non, this is not an academic exercise to me. I don't need a white paper to explain it. I've seen this. And I know that opportunity, which by the way, I'm looking at you, Tom, which by the way, the opportunity was at an organization up the street called the Annie E. Casey Foundation. That job that she got at the Annie E. Casey Foundation did not just change her life. It changed the trajectory of our entire family. I'm so proud of the fact that, to be clear, I'm thankful for the opportunity she got for the Annie E. Casey Foundation, but let me tell you something. Annie E. Casey, y'all should be thankful for the star that you got in Joy Moore. But it shouldn't take luck. It shouldn't take a unique opportunity that a widowed immigrant with a master's degree got an opportunity to be seen that ended up changing hers and the life of her children. It shouldn't take that. The work that we are doing every single day is not just about how do we build up individual organizations and make them bigger. It's about how do we make the problem smaller. How do we focus on prioritizing and putting a budget behind our ideals? And that was the primary focus and motivation why we decided to get into this race in the first place. By understanding that if we can spend this time and spend our energy if we can unify behind a common goal and a common theme, and that common goal and that common theme was this idea that we will not leave people behind. If we can unify around this common idea and this common purpose, that we are going to make every resource matter to impact people as much as humanly possible. If we can unify behind this idea that, yes, as said before, and as you repeated earlier, Franklin, that if we stand divided, we cannot win. But if we stand united, we cannot lose. But if we stand united behind a basic framework and a basic idea, that everything that we do and every decision that we make is going to ensure that every single child and every single family and every single parent and every single worker, that we can look in their eyes and say, I saw you with this decision. And this is why we did what we did. This is the time when we as a city and we as a state are going to stand up and we're going to collectively say, these days of all this economic inequality, these days of having an opportunity where we know we can support people and we don't, the days where we decide and pick and choose who makes it and who doesn't, the days where we can have people who are growing up in a society knowing that that society is as disinterested in them as they are disinterested in that society, that those days can come to an end. If we can collectively build that, and collectively invest in it. And I've been very clear in these first days, in the first days of this administration, by where we're spending our time, about how we're spending our time, about how we're talking about the utilization of resources, about how we're trying to work with partnership with groups all over this state. That if we said it, we meant it. And that luck should not have to be a prerequisite in order to be successful in this society. And it's why we are proud of the fact that when I stood up on our first days at our first State of the State address, and I said that this is going to be a moment when the state of Maryland is going to make a bipartisan and full frontal assault on child poverty in the state of Maryland, I meant it. And why? And why we are proud of the fact that we are now hopefully just days away, knock on wood, I know it's not done yet, but we are now just days away of introducing 10 pieces of legislation into the general session, which, by the way, for all 10 pieces of legislation, again, I'm knocking on wood, but it looks like we are on pace to go 10 for 10 with the legislative package that we just entered into the Maryland General Assembly, which, by the way, is going to represent the most successful legislative package that any governor has introduced in the state of Maryland in close to 40 years. And for a person who's never run for office before, that's not too bad. 10 for 10 on legislative package, which, and by the way, of the legislative bills that we are entering into, again, we're not done yet, but I'm proud of the fact that if we can continue the momentum that we have, that we could be on pace of having bipartisan support on every single one of those pieces of legislation. And that those pieces of legislation represent things like this, things like the Family Prosperity Act, which will make an enhanced earned income tax credit and also make permanent the child tax credit in the state of Maryland, which data continues to show is the most effective child poverty fighting tool that we have in our country. Maryland is going to lead the charge, and Maryland is going to be the first state to make both those two items permanent. That we are going to get past the Fair Wage Act and make sure we're accelerating a $15 minimum wage for all workers inside of the state of Maryland, because gone should be the days where we have individuals who are working jobs, and in some cases multiple jobs, and still living at or below a poverty line. And I tell you what, too, The powerful thing about the Fair Wage Act, and let me just say this, is that when you're talking about the people who have been in support of this bill, it's not just been workers. It's BGE. It's well-paid maids and other small businesses and other businesses who have said, we're already there. Because this is going to be a competitive way of ensuring that you are going to have high-skilled and committed workers. It's a way of making sure that we can actually put capital back into the economy, because people who are making money at $15 an hour, trust me, they're putting that money right back into the economy. And also, it's a way of adding a measure of predictability, a measure of transparency to both workers and businesses. And I cannot wait for this bill to make it to my desk, because I cannot wait to sign it. That when we said that we are going to invest in education, that we meant it. And it's why the proposed budget that we have laid out, the proposed $8.8 billion budget that we have laid out, is not just the most aggressive, but the most transparent investment in public education that this state has ever seen. But also understanding that that means both investing in K-12, making historic investments in our community college system, where there are 16 remarkable community colleges here in the state of Maryland, but also knowing that the answer for every student is not going to be going to a four-year school. You know, and I say it, and people are like, well, didn't you work on a program that actually supported students going to college? I said, this is not about saying that students shouldn't have the opportunity to go. For those who choose to go, they should, and we should make sure the support's for them. But what I'm saying is this: that's not the path for every student. And frankly, it wasn't my path. I mean, I joined the Army when I was 17 years old. I went to a 2-year college, and things worked out pretty well. That what we want to do is invest in pathways for every single student to be able to find their joy, no matter where it shows itself, no matter where it hides itself, and make sure that they know they're going to be supported in that process in order to get it done. It means knowing that we also made historic investments in the Equal Opportunity Scholarship programs, investing $112 million helping low-income students. It means knowing that we invested in basic items of ensuring that we need to have affordable housing options, and why our budget calls for delivering $25 million additional dollars for the Rental Housing Works program. Because if we know that one of the leading drivers of poverty is housing insecurity, that we have to ensure that people have an opportunity to stay inside of their homes, and that renters have an opportunity to go from renters to owners. And that we can create proper platforms and pathways in order for them to do just that. It's the reason we invested over $107 million in mental health supports for not just children, but also community members. Because we know we have a mental health crisis that is going on in society right now, and we have a moral and a spiritual obligation to be able to address it full force. It's the reason that we ended up investing $32 million in 32 local nonprofit organizations, knowing that the spine and the backbone of our community become these social service organizations, and they need and deserve support themselves as well. I'm happy because we know we have a unique chance to make a very real statement. A very real statement that our larger society and our children and our families, they deserve it all. And our society wants to give it. That the pathways that we all enjoyed and pathways that we all learned, the pathways that we all benefited from, how do we make sure that we can take those best practices and put them to scale? So that all of our families can benefit and not just some. I'm happy to say that we know in order for our state to do what it needs to do, that it's going to start by making sure that we can have a healthy and a strong Baltimore. And this budget continues to reflect that. I'm thankful because it's organizations like this one, and it's public servants like you all, who got a chance to see me first. and not just see me as an elected official who got a chance to see me and my family first, who helped to make sure that we could be seen and supported, who helped people to understand that every room that I was in, I was there because I belonged there and not because of benevolence or a social experiment, who helped me to understand that every room that I was in, I was there because that room will be incomplete without me in it, and were willing to make the investments to make it so. This is Maryland's time. This is the time that our state is going to compete, that our state is going to grow, that our state is going to build, and our state is going to win. But we're going to do it. But we're going to do it because we're going to do it together. We're going to do it because we're going to stand united. And when we do that, I'm telling the rest of the country right now, look out and put your glasses on, because that's the only way you're going to be able to see what's going on in Maryland, because we're going to move a whole lot faster. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. I'm thankful for you and your service. I'm thankful for you and your time. I'm thankful to be your governor. I'm thankful to know that this is going to be Maryland's decade, and I'm thankful for the fact that it's going to be Maryland's decade because we are going to get this work done together. God bless y'all. Thank you so much for all you continue to do. Thank you.
So while you're having a seat, as we're about to close, I wanted to just say, one thing the governor said is with your involvement, with his leadership, we can be very competitive as a state. But what he didn't say, which is by implication, he is one of the most competitive persons I've ever met. Very, very competitive. So we have a leader, whether you agree with him on every point or not, we have a leader that is very competitive, and he's all about winning. So we are excited to have your leadership, Governor. I'm excited to understand your background, and you relate so intimately with the work that we do at United Way and so many groups that are here tonight. You get it. You get it. It's in your bones. It's in your DNA. Your mom, bless her heart, your wife, all those that are around you get it. And it's so exciting to see a person sitting in Annapolis that gets it, that's really, really fighting for the issues that we care most about. Can we give it up again for Governor Wes Moore? So thank you again, Governor. On behalf of the United Way of Central Maryland, and in recognition of your commitment to all the people in our great state, especially those who are struggling to get by, we'd like to present this gift to you that captures the spirit of our joint wonderful time together for the MLK Day of Service and the dedication of the well-being of our neighbors that was shining across Maryland on that special day. I want to present this gift to you, sir.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Oh.
Put that in your office.
This is going right in the office.
That's in the office. So let's get a picture. Thanks, sir.
Oh man, thanks, sir. Appreciate you so much, bro. This is beautiful.
So as we wrap up, I'd like to introduce Tommy Hires, who the governor mentioned briefly. She's the United Way of Central Maryland Board Chair prior, and the Vice President of the Center for Civic Sites and Community Change at the wonderful Annie E. Casey Foundation. Tommy.
Thank you. So hard to follow the governor. Thank you, Governor Moore, for your inspiring remarks, but also for your partnership. And thank you, Paul and the DLA Piper team, for being the title sponsor of this event for so many years. And thank you to all of you for your support of this organization. I've been thinking about this. I'm actually going to roll off the board in June. I've been connected to the United Way for 25 years, and the past 11 as a member of the board, and I've seen this organization evolve. And as it continues to be responsive to the needs of residents and partners in this region, this organization has always been on the cutting edge, if not the bleeding edge of innovation to find solutions to some of the challenges that affect Maryland's young people and their families. So through its partnerships and its investments, a word that Franklin used earlier, this organization has been helping to prevent crises that families experience, investing in stability services to prevent new crises from occurring, but also investing in self-sufficiency supports so that individuals have what they need in order to achieve a higher quality of life. So whether it's highlighting some of the struggles that working families face as they struggle to survive, or launching new programs to support student parents and their children, or simply answering the call over 140,000 times last year when people called 211 seeking emergency supports. This organization uses its influence and its platform to push for change. A couple of months ago, the board, we were having a discussion about the various programs under the United Way's umbrella, and I mentioned that I think this organization's superpower is its nimbleness. This organization can move quickly and pivot in a way that many institutions, including government, simply cannot. It can't. United Way has a reputation for not only being a trusted partner, but the ability to execute and to really deliver to get things done. And if we were in a social setting, I would have used different language about that. I saw my friend Terry Hickey here earlier today, and Terry leads housing services for Baltimore County. And one example of the way that the United Way delivers innovative solutions is the STEP program. And there was an op-ed in the Baltimore Sun yesterday where Franklin called for solutions to the housing crisis. So Governor, I'm so happy to hear that there's more money being invested in housing. Through the partnership between Baltimore County government and the United Way, hundreds of families were saved. Their evictions were prevented that would have pushed them into homelessness. It's that kind of innovation, that kind of collaboration and partnership between the private, philanthropic, and public sectors that can push for change. It needs partnership, and you all are partners. So I want to thank you for your support on behalf of the United Way. So whether it's your financial support, your strategic advice, your thought leadership, lending your network, or your sweat equity and service to the organization, it makes a difference and makes all of what the United Way does possible. So I want to thank you for what you've done in the past and what you'll be doing in the future, because there is a campaign underway, that, in case you haven't heard, where we have goals, and your investment makes a difference. So although this marks the end of our formal program, I hope that you'll stick around for a bit and enjoy this time to be together in community with each other, but most important, to celebrate the United Way. Thank you all for coming out.